Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been a huge disaster for Warner Brothers and for video game developer Rocksteady. No one has liked anything that has come out of that game, from its boring gameplay to the DLCs to the race and gender swapping of characters, not to mention changing the orientation of who they'd like to date. Now, I am going to offer my humble suggestions on how Rocksteady and Warner Brothers can fix Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, but I don't think they're going to like it. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Airy. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast, where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications and consider becoming a channel member. All right, so I don't talk about video games a whole lot. Sometimes if it just comes up in the news, like what was going on with the video game we're going to discuss in a minute, I do these normie reviews because I'm not really a gamer. I am a comic book collector. I am a fan of fandoms, but video games is something I just kind of do casually. It's not even really a big hobby. Now, my super cute wife, on the other hand, she loves video games. She's a full-on gamer girl. Now, I first got into discussing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. At first, I was just going to ignore it because it didn't look interested in me. I'm not a big Task Force X fan to begin with, so I was just going to ignore it. But then I saw the blatant disrespect that they paid toward Kevin Conroy and his legacy as Batman, not to mention the canon breaks that they did for their own games for the Arkham trilogy, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. It seemed that they were just pushing virtue signaling, and then it turned out Sweet Baby Inc., an organization that is known for corrupting good games and turning them into sort of soapboxes for political correctness, they had a hand in this game. When it came out, the players were equally less than enthusiastic about it. And then, of course, Kevin Conroy was brutally disrespected. They let Harley Quinn, a mass murderer, lecture Batman about how he handles his heroics. That's ridiculous and silly. And they transitioned Harley Quinn from sort of the classic based on Batman the Animated Series, which is how she was in the Arkham trilogy, into the Deadpool knockoff. I wanted to offer my suggestions on how to fix it, because it's only gotten worse for Rocksteady and Warner Brothers with the release of the DLCs. No one liked the new Joker. No one liked Mrs. Freeze, or as I like to call her, Karen Freeze. Anyway, I digress on that. Now, to the meat of what I wanted to talk about. Here is how they can fix it. Now, I want you to tell me what you think about my suggestions in the comments below, but I've come up with 3 suggestions on how Rocksteady and Warner Brothers can fix Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. All right, so number 1, Rocksteady, Warner Brothers, are you listening? You've got to kill off Karen Freeze and the new Joker. No one likes them. Everyone thinks that they're dumb characters. Here's what you need to do. In a new DLC, you need to make it where you go back into the frozen dimension. You discover that the Karen Freeze is actually an imposter, that she was obsessed with Mr. Freeze and Nora, but then Mr. Freeze rejected her, so then she kidnapped him and put him in stasis as well and took his place. The Suicide Squad can free the real Mr. Freeze from that dimension and kill her. As for the Joker, something similar. What you do is you go back into the Joker universe, where for some reason Brainiac is using the Joker's themes to conquer this universe. You go back in there, maybe for a similar reason. You find out that this Joker is actually Johnny Charisma, or a variant of Johnny Charisma, the one from Arkham Knight who was infected by the Joker with the Joker venom, and that the real Joker emerges, and this real Joker kills Johnny Charisma, and then he realizes this universe is too far gone, so he goes into the Arkham verse, and then Joker's back. I think that if you eliminate those 2 characters, a lot of people will like it, because even people who played the Frozen DLC, they didn't like Mrs. Freeze, and even after the Suicide Squad recruits her, didn't play anymore with her. That became very obvious. So yeah, those are my suggestions. Get rid of Karen Freeze, get rid of Art House Joker, replace them with good characters who are based more on their traditional sort of representation. Number 2, you got to bring back the Justice League. Now, I know that the characters were killed off in the main video game, but they did bring back the Flash. So you find out that the Flash is still alive in the frozen dimension, I believe, and they bring him back and capture him. They should just do the same. That should be one of the DLCs, is they're going to recruit Justice League members who are from universes that have collapsed. Make it where it's universes where Brainiac has already won. So Superman or Wonder Woman or Green Lantern, they're the lone survivors of that dimension, and so they get recruited to go back to the Arkhamverse, and they decide, hey, this is my chance to redeem myself. I failed to save my universe's Earth, so I'm going to go back, and that would be a good way to do it. Now, in the case of John Stewart, I think, probably a better idea is they actually follow Green Lantern Corps canon and make it where the ring goes off into space, and maybe Hal Jordan or Kyle Rayner or Guy Gardner even, or Jade or whoever you would like, they come back and be the new Green Lantern for Earth. Bring back one of those classic characters. That would be a good way to solve that problem with GL. That would also put you in a position where these Justice League members have to work together with the Suicide Squad, but these Justice Leaguers, they don't actually know one another because they're all from different dimensions. I think that would come together and make it really cool, and then they become the new Justice League. All right, so my final suggestion that I think anyone can get behind, I could be wrong, like I said, let me know in the comments, but my third suggestion is they need to do a sequel to this game called Justice League Stop the Suicide Squad. So they've already said that they want to do a sequel to this game. I don't think that's happened because it's sold so poorly and the DLCs aren't that popular. But I think if you want to get people interested in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, you need to announce the next game as Justice League Stop the Suicide Squad. And there are two ways to do this. First, you make it where Nightwing becomes Batman and he rallies together other Justice Leaguers like Aquaman, Black Canary, Hawkman, Cyborg, etc. And they come together because Task Force X, they've betrayed Waller, they've murdered her, and now they're using the technology from Brainiac and Task Force X to control Metropolis. And they want to do that and expand. And if you want to just throw in the virtue signaling, you can make it where Harley Quinn is the boss, right? Then that new Justice League formed by Nightwing, they can come together and they can stop the Suicide Squad. Or, as I mentioned in 2, this new multiverse Justice League that has come together, they have to work together for the first time in this big mission. So like I said, similar concept, same thing. Suicide Squad portrays Amanda Waller. They use technology to take over Metropolis. They intend to expand into Happy Harbor, Gotham City. So they have to come together to defeat them. I think that would be really cool. And you're like, well, what about Superman? Because as you said earlier, Jacob, Superman could just fly in and defeat them all. Well, because they're using Brainiac technology, that sort of alien tech does harm Superman. That's established in the comics. Or you can make it where they have some sort of red sun angle. Maybe that's something that Amanda Waller did privately. The Task Force X figures it out. They use that technology to remove the bombs from their bodies, and then they take over Metropolis with this red sun tech and the Brainiac tech. And so that way Superman can get hurt and even damaged throughout the game. I think that would be really cool. And then maybe they could even do it from the Hall of Justice. Like they use the Hall of Justice as a starting point. And so the final level is the Justice League retaking the Hall of Justice. I think that would be really cool. That would be a good way to redeem the Arkhamverse, if you will. Now, I do have a bonus one, and I think this one will excite people as well. Batman needs to be redeemed. They killed him off in one of the worst ways possible. And by the way, I don't have a problem with Batman being brainwashed or turning evil in some way or even dying, being killed off. But what they did in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was horrible. It was an insult to Kevin Conroy. If they were going to do something like that, they should have gotten a different voice actor, maybe Roger Craig Smith, who had voiced him in Arkham Origins, or Diedrich Bader, who they always kind of use him for throwaway Batman roles, except for Batman Brave and the Bold, of course. They should have done something like that, but no, they made it where it was Kevin Conroy, and it's the most humiliating way Batman could have died. It was disrespectful and dishonoring to the legacy of Kevin Conroy. No, I'm not taking it back, and yes, I said it, and I'll say it again every time I talk about this game. So they need to redeem Batman. How do they do this? Now, again, there are one of two ways of doing this. Now, how the comic books have solved this problem is they made it where Failsafe, which was one of Batman's robotic AIs that was supposed to help him in sort of a climatic event, it took over, it created a robotic clone of him, and then it got exposed as being a clone, and it had kidnapped Bruce Wayne and locked him up. You could go that route. So the Batman that was in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League wasn't actually Batman. It was a robotic clone, or just a clone in general that Brainiac had brainwashed, and the real Batman is being kept underground. You also have to make it where people forget that Bruce Wayne was Batman, and you can do that through controlled sort of brainwashing, like what Amanda Waller has done in the past, or make it through Brainiac did it, or you can throw in a Dr. Fate spell, which is what they did in Earth 2 prior to the prior to the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Another thing about this, they need to beg Warner Brothers to let them use the archives for Kevin Conroy's voice. That way it's redeemed and fully. And you can even admit it, say, hey, we used archives from Kevin Conroy's previous roles. You would have to be kind of nifty with the dialogue, but I think that would actually save it. I mean, he recorded several hours of dialogue for Batman, not just for Batman the Animated Series. He voiced Batman in several other animated films and even appeared live action as kind of an old man Bruce Wayne. I think that that would have been cool. Now, I wish that that had all come together that way, because one of the reasons about this is DC has tried and failed to make Harley Quinn sort of take Batman's place, and we all know that's what they are trying to do. They made her a Deadpool ripoff sort of in the 2010s, and that trend has continued despite the fans rejecting it. They need to bring her back to her roots, the roots of Paul Dini and Arlene Sorkin, to make her character worthwhile. And hey, maybe that's the final level, is Batman gets redeemed, the world forgets that he was Bruce Wayne, like I said, through some sort of brainwashing, and he has a final showdown with Harley Quinn where he reveals that he was right about her, that she was not too bright, because she's definitely not. She let the Joker deceive her, right? And I think if you do that, it will all come together nicely, that it will work out well, and that is how Rocksteady and DC can redeem Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Will they do this? No, they won't even implement one of these changes. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear. If you watched this far, thank you so much. I want to hear what you think. Do my suggestions make sense? If anything, the redemption of Batman needs to be a priority to Suicide Squad. They don't take any of my other suggestions. My bonus one needs to be the one that they implement. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, consider becoming a channel member where you get all kinds of perks. Ring that little bell so you get notifications whenever I post a new video. And if you're watching on another outlet or even YouTube, you're like, I don't want to support you on big tech, click on the link to my locals community. It's kind of like a Patreon and Subscribestar, where you can sign up for a monthly subscription or give me tips for my articles. It really helps small indie creators like myself. Or you can purchase one of my novels. My newest one, Blessed Child, is available now. So definitely give it a look, give it a try. I think you will like it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on StudioJake.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.